Hey again. Welcome to day 3 of my video posting streak. I noticed it had been a while since I made a book video, and books are one of my favorite things in the whole wide world. And some of my favorite videos to watch concern books, especially when people have just gotten new books and they haven't necessarily read them yet and they just want to talk about them and be excited. That isn't exactly what this is, but I thought maybe I would show you guys some of the books that I brought with me on my vacation. Like I've said, I am visiting my family here over the winter holiday, and mostly all I do is sit around and read and eat, and that's all my cat George has been doing. He came with me, and it's been very nice. So I've had a lot of time to read. So I thought, since I'd already done a video recommending my favorites, which if you scroll down to the very bottom, I go on about Ronald Hutton and blah blah blah, all that stuff. That's there if you want to see it. My favorites are still available, as well as things that I don't like in books. So I thought I'd show you the 3 that I brought on my trip that I'm planning on knocking out in the next week or 2. The first I mentioned last time. This is High Magic's Aid by Gerald Gardner, which I've already read before, which was redundant. I've already read, but I didn't realize that it had been reprinted, so I went ahead and got another copy, and I've wanted another copy so that I can mark it up. A lot of the stuff that I do in school, kind of what my research focuses on, my focus is religious history, which is kind of a general sort of term that really is just designed to make me more palatable in academic circles. But what I'm really interested in is not so much describing specific religious traditions, just because I feel like there are already a lot of people out there doing that, even for something like Wicca or other neo-pagan traditions. I'm more interested in how those particular religions fit into the greater scheme of religious history, both in Europe and the United States. So a lot of what I do is, in addition to reading primary sources like this, I spend a lot of time evaluating the works of scholars who are presenting particular religious traditions. So I'm interested more in how we categorize things and how we treat particular religions in scholarly circles. So, for example, I'm never going to come out with a book on, the history of Wicca or neo-paganism in the United States or something like that, just because it's been done. It's been done. And I don't think it necessarily needs to be redone. But I do think that it's important to look at how we derive the categories that we box religion into. Like, why is religion something separate from magic? I mean, like, things like that. So treatment is what I'm interested in. Anyway, I don't remember why I went on that tirade. But this, I guess the point is, I feel very privileged that I get to sit around and read stuff like this and call it school and write papers, and this is kind of my work. Anyway, so the other 2 that I brought, the second one is Modern Wicca by Michael Howard, which I have not finished yet. I just started it, and I'm only like a quarter of the way through. It's on Llewellyn, which is not an academic press. This is not the kind of book that you would ever cite as a scholarly source in any kind of paper or journal or whatever. It's definitely primary source reading, but it's nice having a history presented from the perspective of a particular individual who lived a lot of the stuff. And it's been interesting, and it's been a really quick read, so I'm excited. And let's see. I guess that's it for that one. The third one, and I'm gonna mangle this author's name, and I'm really sorry, because I just hate that. People mangle my name. It's okay. Wicca, Magical Beginnings a study of the possible origins of the rituals and practices found in this modern tradition of pagan witchcraft and magic. It's the longest subtitle ever, by Sorita Dest and David Rankin. So, Dest, I don't know if that's French or what. I've read works by David Rankin, and I always liked him. He writes, he does a lot, and he does a lot with ceremonial magic. And this particular press, it's on Avalonia, which I think is at least a relatively independent press. Look, there are the authors. They're so happy. Yay. Anyway, I've just kind of been discovering the books on Avalonia, which is a UK press. I have not started this one at all, so I don't know what to expect. I don't know if it's any good. I expect good things from it, just from other things I've read affiliated with the publisher and with Rankin. If I'm even saying his name correctly, I'm sorry. But I'll let you know. I'll let you know how it goes. I guess the other thing that I kind of wanted to mention that's tied into this was how I find my books and where I get my books. And I was thinking about this just because, like I said, I watch a lot of your videos, and you know, it's like, oh, I just went to Barnes & Noble and I picked up a couple of things and I'm so excited, and that's great. And it's just been a really long time since I've been able to do that, just because I feel like I've read all of that stuff already. And this isn't me trying to say that, you know, I'm so smart and so well read or whatever. It's more like my interests are just somewhere else. And I feel like a lot of the books that are coming out are just rehashes of the same old stuff. Like, I don't understand why Scott Cunningham has published like 3 books in the last 5 years when he's been dead. He's been dead for more than a decade. Okay, but what have you. It's like Jimi Hendrix releasing, you know, previously unreleased recordings, even though he's been dead. So, I don't know. It's just a lot of the same old kind of stuff. Most of it is intro to Wicca or like spell books or whatever, and that's fine, and I like that stuff too every now and then. But I'm finding that more and more, in order to get books that I want to read, I have to, what I do is I go to Amazon and I'll search key phrases and I'll search by publication date. That way I can see books as they're coming out, and I can do pre-orders, and I get to see a lot of the weirder stuff that comes out. Because if you go to some place like Amazon or BN.com and you type Wicca into the search bar, you just come up with like pages and pages of the same old crap, and it takes you forever until you wade through things that you haven't seen before. So I find it's better just to do publication date, and there's still some waiting to be done. But anyway, that's what I do. And I'm bringing this up now because I spent the morning tracking down, or attempting to track down, a couple of local pagan bookshops. Just because, you know, you should support local business when you can. I work at an independent music shop, and, you know, independent shops are important. But more and more I'm finding that, like the Barnes & Noble, these small pagan shops just never have what I want, and they're always a lot more expensive than, you know, even just going to the Barnes & Noble half the time. And I struggled for a while with, like, feeling guilty, because instead of just going down the street to the shop that's near me, I just place a big order on Amazon. You know, they'd be delivered to my door. But I stopped feeling guilty because, I mean, if it's less money, and if you don't necessarily have a lot of money, then what are you going to do? If the choice comes down to not reading it at all, or paying for it somewhere cheaper, you know, from a big box dealer, I'd rather do that. And these small bookshops, they really only stock, you know, 30, 40, 50 titles maybe. And it's the same stuff. And sometimes they're more. I had a friend of mine try to order from the shop that's local to me, and she wanted to buy local, and they were like, oh, well, you know, we'll take your order and we'll give you a call when it comes in, and they never called, and she would call, and it just hadn't come in yet, and it's been almost a month, so she finally just gave up and ordered it through Amazon, and it was like 2/3 of the price, and it arrived in 2 days. So, I mean, if small shops can't compete, then they just can't compete. So I don't feel bad about it anymore. And hopefully I haven't offended anyone, or too many of you at least. Anyway, I ended up not finding these shops. I wanted to look them up because that's something I like to do when I travel. And one shop, I found the location and they had their sign out front, but the storefront itself was empty. There was just no shop. There was no way of telling when they'd closed or anything like that. I found both of these places on Witchbox. The second shop was actually recommended in I'm looking to see if I have it near me. Witches and Pagans magazine, which is like the new. It's the second reincarnation of New Witch and Pangaea magazine through BBI Media. Anyway, they did a big article about paganism in the South, and they had this listing of shops. So I thought I'd check it out since I was here, and the first shop was non-existent, and the second shop I couldn't find, and I drove around, and I kept driving by the building where they said it was, my GPS and the map that I had, and I called the store's phone number, and the first couple of times I called, it just rang and nobody answered, and the second time, it went straight to this pre-recorded, like, generic sort of machine message where it's just like, you know, at the beep, leave a message, and it doesn't even have the shop name or anything, so you wonder if you even dialed correctly. Anyway, so that was a bust, so I just came home. So that was the disappointment for the day. And I don't know that there's a moral in what I'm telling you. I don't think there is. But that's what I'm reading, and I'm actually expecting another couple of books in the mail today. Although I don't think they're Wicca related. I ordered textbooks too, so. But I will let you know how these are, and I did get some Barnes & Noble gift cards, so if anyone has a recommendation, send it my way. And I hope you guys are having a good day.